If there's one thing that connects most car people across the world, it's that we tend to like a small car. There's something about the small engines, the nippy handling and the funky looks that really gets to us. Along with their ease of maintenance and utilitarian nature, you really can't help but love a small car. Small cars have been around since the dawn of the automotive industry, particularly in large urban areas where space can be considered a premium. These cars have proven time and time again that bigger isn't necessarily better. However, if you take a look at the modern car industry, it would seem that the art of a small car is slowly disappearing. With the rising popularity of the SUV and the forthcoming electric car revolution, cars are definitely going to become bigger and bigger. Even most small cars today aren't actually as big as you think. If you take the modern Fiat 500, the new car is almost 2 meters wider and almost a ton heavier than the cheap and cheerful original. So if you're a car person and you appreciate the smaller things in life, where do you go? Well, as with many things in the car world, you go to Japan. Hi everyone, welcome to RS Media. I'm Alex, and today let's talk about K cars. Now, before we get into the actual history of the K car, first we need to understand what a K car actually is. The first thing to mention is that when we say K car, we're not actually referring to just the letter K, which is a completely different type of car built in a completely different place that has virtually no similarities other than four wheels and an engine. K is actually spelled KEI and is short for the Japanese word keijidosha, which aptly translates to light automobile. Once you have a look at them, it becomes fairly obvious. The K car is its own distinct category of car in Japan that emerged following the Second World War. The regulations came into effect in 1949 and have since been revised 6 times. K cars rose in popularity in post-war Japan because the restrictions on size, engine capacity and power output meant that their owners benefited from less tax and cheaper insurance. This meant that people could own a functional and practical car without having to shell out a month's salary just to keep it running. They also came with yellow and black license plates in Japan, so that you could definitely distinguish what a K car was and what wasn't, although I really doubt anyone ever experienced that particular problem. So as I mentioned before, the K car was born just after the end of the Second World War, when the Japanese economy, along with most of Japan, was completely destroyed.
Thanks, America.
Shut up, Dame. Before the Japanese economy began to properly recover, many people were left earning far less money than they were before, which made living a little bit difficult. This meant that the average Japanese citizen couldn't afford to buy one of the big and bulky cars of the kind that were on sale at the time, but despite that, most people were actually able to afford a motorcycle. Now, that all sounds great, except if you have a family or a business, or you need to carry anything more than a single bag of shopping on a regular basis. Basically, for most people, the motorcycle wasn't going to get the job done. Now, in response to this issue, the Japanese government created the K car. This category was designed to help boost the domestic car industry in Japan, as well as to ensure that people who needed a car were able to afford one. Now, the first regulations mandated a 150cc engine, though these were gradually increased between 1949 and 1955 until it reached 360cc. The new regulations spawned the first mass-produced K car, the Subaru 360. It was nicknamed the Ladybug and became one of the most popular cars in Japan. Now, this car, amongst others, finally began to fill the need for the inexpensive basic transportation for Japan's citizens. Despite its popularity in Japan, it proved less popular in exports, where the car was advertised in the United States as cheap and ugly, as opposed to the expensive and ugly cars you'd buy in the United States at the time. Now, these original 360cc cars were obviously not very fast, but actually that didn't matter. In urban areas where these cars were especially popular, the speed limits never really exceeded 40 kilometers an hour, which conveniently was also the maximum speed that the K cars could be driven. So you'd imagine that of all the things that you'd have to worry about as a K car owner, speeding tickets wouldn't really be one of them. Now, in 1976, the engine size was again increased to 550cc, but at the same time, the Japanese government began to slowly withdraw many of the benefits that made the K car so interesting. Now, along with stricter emission standards of the 1970s, manufacturers such as Honda and Mazda began to withdraw from the K car market, leading to a decrease in sales from 1970 to 1975 of 80%. However, the larger engine sizes actually proved to save the K car market, with many manufacturers having already developed engines for these new regulations for other models in their lines, which meant that they could cut down on development cost. It also opened up a potential export market to the United States, Europe and South America, with a focus particularly on commercial K vehicles. Now, by the 1980s, K cars became more and more refined, moving away from their cheap and cheerful origins. Many new models started to include premium features such as four-wheel drive, turbochargers and air conditioning. Van versions of K hatchbacks began to surge in popularity in the 1980s, spearheaded mainly by the Suzuki Alto, released in 1979. Now, although the K car was initially centered around the concept of a utilitarian and affordable basic transport for the citizens of post-war Japan, the K car regulations actually spawned a variety of different models for all kinds of purposes. K trucks are among one of the most popular of these variations, with the Suzuki Carry being among the most popular of these. It was available as both a van and a flatbed and was targeted at small businesses such as delivery companies and restaurants for use in urban areas in Japan, and have now found success outside of Japan as collector's items. Some models now are selling for over £5,000 in the UK. That's providing you can actually find one. But as we know, car people tend to like sports cars, and you might be thinking that this particular category of car just isn't going to do it for you. But you'd be wrong. So very wrong. K sports cars are an interesting little niche in the K car market and the car community, with some famous examples including the AutoZam AZ1, the Honda Beat, the Daihatsu Copen and the Suzuki Cappuccino. Now, if you live in the UK, we're so sorry for you. If you live in the UK, you might have already seen the Copen and the Cappuccino driving around on the roads, but in our opinion, the most interesting of all K sports cars is undoubtedly the AutoZam. AutoZam is a brand that's built by Mazda based on a series of prototypes by Suzuki, and it was actually sold by Suzuki as a Suzuki Kara, because that's not confusing. It's the rarest of all K sports cars, and it was powered by a 657cc engine that produced 63 horsepower. Now, among some of the interesting things about this car include that the Mazda Speed version was actually built and sold in Japan, but our favourite thing was the gull-wing doors, which really seem impractical on this kind of car, but then again, the whole car is impractical, so why would we bother arguing? There have also been some cars that are built outside of Japan that have met the latest K car regulations. Now, obviously, it would go without saying that the Smart 4.2 was one of these vehicles, because obviously it would be. During its brief stint in the Japanese market in 2001 to 2004, it was sold as a K car. However, what you probably weren't expecting is that the Caterham 7, yes, that Caterham 7, also met the regulations, specifically the 160 variant, which was powered by the 0.6 litre Suzuki engine, which itself was actually made for Suzuki's K car line anyway. Now, since 2014, the incentives and advantages of owning a K car have all but gone in Japan, but they still remain among the best-selling cars in the Japanese markets today. Only 4 manufacturers are still actively producing K cars, and of those 4, only 2 design their own vehicles. The others simply produce badge-engineered copies. Now, with falling sales, it may seem that the K car is soon to become a thing of the past, but as the world is now preparing for the electric car revolution, many manufacturers... It's my video, Dave! Many manufacturers are now starting to try and produce electric K cars for use in urban areas. Now, among these are the Mitsubishi i-MiEV, which, if you've ever seen one, doesn't really give a promising start to the electric K car, but it does mean that the K car may in fact live to fight another day. So, after all of that, why do we like K cars so much? Well, firstly, we like the concept behind them. The idea of creating a small, inexpensive and surprisingly practical car to provide transport for pretty much everyone echoes the founding principles of the car itself. The variety of different models and model types are produced under the K car category practically meant that you can have any type of car for whatever you might need, all under one roof. As long as that roof meets regulatory standards, otherwise we can't call it a K car. Now, perhaps the main reason we like the K car is, for me at least, it's a testament to human creativity. The fact that all of these cars, from vans to sports cars to regular passenger cars, were created while working to a set of restrictive regulations really shows why we like the car industry so much. It's creative, it's fun, and it works best under adversity. Thank you very much for watching. We do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see more content like this, then please like, subscribe, and do all that other stuff that YouTubers are telling you to do at the end of these videos. Something to do with a bell or something. You know what to do. Just go and do it. I swear to God, Dave. Anyway, If you think we've missed anything, then we probably have. This video is only meant to be 10 minutes, so we'll just let us know in the comments section and we'll promise we'll read it. No, we really do, we'll promise. Thank you very much for watching RS Media. Thank you for watching my first video on RS Media. I hope to see you next time. Take care. Please tell me that recorded.